Good afternoon. We're going to go over the watch list for November 11th. Before we get into the watch list, just want to cover a couple things. If you're not in our Discord chat room, you should be. It's free to join. Subscribers get the alerts, and this should be a good week to be a subscriber because I think something could happen with the market this week, and I'll go over that in detail as we go through the watch list. But yeah, I would check out the Discord and catch the runners before they run. Well, as you can see, we get on the screen, zero hedge, VIX, new record shorts, and when those record shorts is when they like to flip the table and squeeze the shorts. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if VIX pops this week. And as you can also see that the CNN Fair Greed Index is at 91, extreme greed. And when it's at that level, SPY is at near all-time highs or at all-time highs, and VIX got record shorts. Something's going to be volatile this week. I mean, something with trade. Trump's going to tweet something crazy as we got economic numbers coming up that could just change everything. So just be in mind that it could be a very volatile week, and things can flip in a heartbeat. As we all know that when Trump is tweeting, you're one tweet from your position getting destroyed or substantially increasing. So like I said, this is the week you want to be in the chat room and catch these big runners, because I have a pretty big watch list this week. But just keep an eye on the tickers and the levels and make alerts on your platform, and you should be okay. Now, I've got two sides to the watch list. I've got my bearish side, which is when the market's red. Then I got my bullish side when the market is green, what to watch for. So we will cover, since my bullish side is smaller, I'll go to the tickers first. I know I have Bob up here, but we'll ignore that for right now. We're going to go to, first one's going to be Roku. Now, Roku, I mean, it's in this little 128 to 116 area. It needs to break out of this area, and right now, I mean, it's really in no man's land. So I mean, if it can get over a 124, I mean, it's got a chance to get to 128 and try to go above this gap resistance and fill the gap. But if it does get below 118, it's got some room down into the 103 area. Yeah, I'd say right in here, right around the 104 area, and the 109 area would be to watch under the 118. So this is really like flipping a coin right here. You just don't know which direction it's going to go. I mean, it's down the daily. I mean, the stochastics is oversold. I mean, Roku is, when it's strong, it's very strong. So it could really, if it does happen to break the 124 area, I think it's going to possibly go and fill the gap if the market conditions are there. But Roku really doesn't really care about what SPY does half the time. It's got a mind of its own. But yeah, I would watch Roku over 124 and below 118 until we figure out which direction it's going to go. Right now, it's in like on the hourly, it's in a triangle. Like I said, the hourly is on the right and the daily is on the left. But yeah, it's wedging on the hourly, so it's really you're flipping a coin on this one. But if you watch both levels, the 124, 118, it can. If you can catch those levels, you'll catch a good trade on either side, no matter which direction it goes. Now, PSX is another one I'm looking at. It's been just going crazy. This is another one to keep an eye on, because it's like it's got an ascending wedge, ascending triangle. And this is an oil stock, Phillips 66. It follows oil for the most part. But yeah, it's got a nice little wedge right here, and it gets over this $200 range, not $200, sorry, 120 range, that it could pop. Now, let's see what the weekly shows to see how far this can go. Well, if it does break the 120, 123 is probably the next area to watch than possibly 124. And it gets over that, I mean, it's got clear skies to be all-time highs. So, you know, PSX over 120, watch that for a pop. And let's bring this back down. Okay. And what else do we have? We have Shopify. Shop. And Shop, you know, it's down here. It's down at support right into the 280, 282 area. So, you know, it's like a double bottom on the daily, but you're also showing a head and shoulders. So you got to be very cautious of that. Bring it out to the 200. So, you know, if it can get over the 300, I would look for it to retest the 315 area. Actually, 313 be a good area. But if it does get below 280, I mean, it could drop quite a bit. 260, then the 240 area. So, I mean, just be aware that if you do get over it, over 300, there is a head and shoulders on the hourly and the weekly. I mean, there's the left, the head, and the right. On the 280, it could fall. So, Shop, I am looking for it, you know, to get over 300. So that's what I'm looking for on Shop. We also have Yum. I'll bring back the daily tighter. There we go. Now on Yum, you know, it's bouncing around. I mean, it's got a nice little support into the 98 area. So if it can get over, you know, 100, 100's a big psychological number. If it can get over 100, I think it will retest this 104, the gap, where it gapped down the gap resistance. So I would look for a possible pop over 100 to get into the 104. Now, if it gets below the 97.60, I mean, let's see how much room it has on the way down. I mean, it's pretty. I think the RSI is very, very low on Yum. Let me just take a quick look and see what it says, what the RSI is on the daily. RSI is 26, is under 30, so on the daily. So yeah, it's I'm not really looking forward to the downside. I mean, I'd rather see it pop over 100 and catch it to 104. So that's what I'll be looking for on Yum. Now the other one is Shack. Of course, you know, Yum and Shack are both food stocks, so they've been getting hit pretty hard, like CMG and stuff like that. Now you have Shack just going down and just having a fallen wedge, and you know, when you have a fallen wedge, they end up, you know, when they break the wedge, they end up being bullish. So I would look for anything right over the $64 range to go to the gap resistance, which is 72 area. So I mean, it can fall more, but I'm not looking for it to fall more. I'm looking for a reversal. As you can see right here on the daily, it's got support at 61.50. So I'm only looking for a pop over 64. I'm not interested in the downside. So I'll be watching Shack on a reversal here. And looking at BA, Boeing. They had news today, I saw somewhere. I haven't had a chance to really look at it, but I would watch Boeing over 360 and to get up into the 370 area. But, you know, it closed the gap on Friday on the hourly chart. So it could easily reverse. I mean, you could even catch it over 354 if it doesn't gap up huge overnight. But, yeah, I mean, the real good buy signal will be over 360. And I know that's like a $6 difference. But Boeing, when Boeing's strong, it produces, you know, big results. And as you can see on the daily, it's fighting the 30 SMA on the daily, but it's also bull flagging. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get up into the 370 this week on Boeing, if no bad news comes out. So the other one's Wayfair we have. Now I'm looking for the same thing. You know, I'm looking for over 86. Let's get over 86. get into the gap resistance and fill the gap. As you can see, it's been consolidating on the daily over here, and it gets over that 88, breaks that gap resistance, that it will fill a gap, and the target would be 100. So Wayfair is definitely one I would watch. As you can see, it's a symmetrical triangle right here on the hourly. So it gets any speed, it's going to close that gap. So I'll be watching that. Which is Hasbro. This is another one that's looking for a gap fill, or at least to test the gap resistance. If you have no idea what I'm talking about in the gap resistance and stuff like that, you need to be in the room, be a subscriber, and watch the video lessons I have, because I go over all this, and it will make completely sense to you if you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, back to this. As you can see right here, the 95's got a nice support on the hourly. And it's kind of got like a small little fallen wedge right here, I guess you want to say. The daily, it's loves a 95 over here too. So I'll be watching for anything over like 97. I guess, actually, yeah, over 97. This area's got like a lot of consolidation. This is an important number right here, 97. So we get over 97, get into 100, and just have to watch to see how our reaction to 100 gets over to 100. I would look for it to test this hourly and daily gap resistance on that would be the target over 97. So I would set an alert for 97. Now, when I'm saying these levels, you should go into TOS or whatever your broker is that lets you have alerts, and you alert these levels and make little notes and say, or just write them down in your notebook area, whatever you use to jot down notes. Just write down these levels and what we're looking for, what I'm looking for, and the areas, the target areas that I think it's going to hit. Now, what is this okay, now the last one is going to be EA, Electronic Arts. Now, as you can see, on the daily, you get over this area right here, this 99 area. I think it can pop to, and retest the 103.50 area. So I would keep an eye for a breakout over, let's see, yeah, over 99. Look for a breakout. And there hasn't been too much action on EA lately. So, it's due. Yeah, as you can see, it's on the weekly right here. It's got a symmetrical triangle right here. It breaks this. It can go to 108 on the weekly. So it's had a big sell-off, a flagging triangle right here. It gets over the 99. It's got room on the weekly. So I would keep an eye on EA at those levels too. Now on the bearish side, which my list is pretty big, and a lot of them are familiar tickers from last week that just are not dropping because of the market. But if the market drops this week, I would keep a close eye on these tickers. First one we have is BABA, and I know BABA had news about a massive sales. One-day sales today or something like that, or over the weekend. So, BABA's probably going to be strong. It probably could gap up, and if it does, it could possibly even sell off on the gap up. So, but regardless of that, I'm looking for BABA. If it happens to get under I think the 106 area right here, it's going to fill this gap to 184, and possibly come down to 182. So, the trade news is really going to affect this. So if we hear any bad news on the China trade deal, that BABA would be the first thing to go after, BABA and Baidu. But I prefer BABA. So, it's just gone straight up on the daily, and it does not like it over this area. When you get over the 186, it's got a lot of resistance right here on the daily in the 189 and 188 area. So it could reject as soon as it gets in this area and just drop. So even it did pop over here, but for a couple of days, then it just dropped significantly a few days out. This could be a nice put play or a spread play for a month out. So assuming that the trade deal doesn't go through, and I think it's all smoke and mirrors. So I mean, if there's an actual trade deal to be done to sign it, they'd stop playing games with it. So where are we going to sign? Where are we going to sign it? Where are we going to do this? Where are we going to do that? That's just all smoke and mirrors. I don't believe it until it happens. And next one is Netflix. Now, I know Netflix is in an area where it could go either way, but I mean, if it can get over 294, and it's got room to probably 300, if it can break to 296, it's got room to 300, but I'm kind of like leaning towards the bearish side with the market being at all-time highs, and if the market does go red, that, Netflix is going to go down with it. So I think, if you get under the 290, under the 288, I think you're going to see a drop down to the 280 region. So if the market is weak, I would look to get short on Netflix for a target around 280, then down to the 276 area right here. So that's with the market conditions being red. If it's not, if for some reason this is another crazy week where we just keep going up and up and up, you could go long on Netflix over 294 for a push to 300, assuming that the market conditions are there. So that's kind of a flip of a coin too. But I'm looking for a short side because I think that the market's going to dump this week. It might not. It might be next week, but with the all-time highs and record VIX shorts, I think something dramatic is going to happen this week. So I guess we'll find out. And the other one I have is NVDA. Nope, that is not NVIDIA. Got too many N's. That's NVIDIA. There we go. Now, as you can see in NVIDIA, it's just a rising wedge. And when you have a rising wedges are bearish. So you can see it. It's right there, rising up. And when it breaks down, it's going to break down. It's going to be a pretty big drop. So I think it gets under 206. It's going to retest the 200 area. So I'll be looking for a short on puts on NVIDIA under 206 into the 200 region. If the market continues to keep selling off, I think that we can get into the 190, retest this area right here. So that's what I'm looking for on NVIDIA. The next one is UNH. UNH has been on my watch list for a couple weeks because I think this thing's just going to finally give up. But when the market does go weak and it does happen to sell off, the first two sectors are going to go are the financials and the insurance. So this, I mean, you get it's kind of wedging right here, but I still think this is going to fall apart at some point. So if the market's weak, I'll look for a short on this on the 254. To retest the 250. And if it gets below that, I'll be looking down here into the 245 range. So I mean, as you can see on we'll go to the weekly on UNH. Let's go to the weekly. You see, it's got like a descending channel right here. I mean, it does not like to get too far out. So I mean, this would be a good short area using the channel. So on the weekly, but it could break out as well if the market's strong. But I still think it's gonna come down. What else we have? UPS. Now I know it is Christmas season and UPS is strong. I mean, UPS could break out easily right here on the hourly. I mean, you get over 124.50. I mean, it could break out. Let's see what it looks like on the weekly. Yeah, see, it's already kind of rejecting this 125 area. So if it can't get over 125, it could easily just fall apart. So I would look for on a short perspective under let's say 124. Actually, no, I think it'd be better under 123.50 underneath this hourly little drop right here. And under the 123.50, it'd be looking for 114, 115 area for support. So that's a pretty significant drop on the daily, but on the hourly, 120, 117 area if it does drop. But also if we can get over the 125 area, I mean, it could pop. But look at the last time we got over 125. It jumped up for like a day or two, and it just sold off substantially. So probably was earnings or something. I don't remember what it was. What's the date on this? Oh, this is when the market dumped. That big sell-off on the market, that's why. But yeah, I mean, I would keep an eye on this level in UPS, 125 level. We also have BIIB. Now, I like this. You look at the weekly. Look how extended it is on the weekly. Go to the daily. Now, I'm watching this for a short under 285. It's got a head and shoulders. You know, we get this little shoulder right here, head, another shoulder. I think it gets under 285. She's going to fill the gap. At least if it does get under 285, look for gap support right around 277. And it could bounce right there, so I'd be very cautious about this 277 area if it does drop. And if it does push through, I mean, it's got a big gap to fill. So that'll be a big one to watch too on BIIB. Now the other one we have is another one I've been watching for a while, United Rentals. This thing has just been strong. Really, really strong. I mean, it's just gone straight up. It's got to let some air out, I would think. You know, under 152. If it gets under 152, I think it'd be a good area to short and use 150 to the 146 area for support for possible. If it does happen to bounce, those would be the areas to watch. But I think it's I would like to see it down to the 137, 138 area to retest this breakout. You know, it popped and broke out hard, and sometimes when stocks like to break out, they kind of would like to come back to the area and retest it. So we could easily see the 138 area being retested on URI. So if the market's weak, URI would be one I'd be looking at too. I mean, although if the market is weak, there's going to be a lot to look at, but some could start getting weak before then. And as you can see right here, we have GS. Goldman Sachs is another one. Financial. I think it's, you know, it's already financials already came down on Friday. So, you know, it's retesting this area. As you can see right here, it's consolidated right here, and we're stuck in this area again right here. And once it does break down, I mean, look at the big drop. And same with right here, you know, it could drop. So Goldman Sachs, financials are due for a pullback. So I would look for anything under 218 for a pullback down to the 212 area, and possibly even, you know, lower, you know, 208 would be a good area to look at too. So yeah, 218, look for a short. 212, we get some in here around the 216, but 212 is a big area to watch on the downside on GS. We also have BlackRock. I haven't traded this in a long time, but this has just gone straight up. I mean, I think it's going to come back and retest this area. So on the daily, I don't know let's see what it looks like on the weekly for a few years out. Yeah, see, it broke out on the weekly. I mean, it could continue on the upside, but I don't like it. I'm not going to chase that, so I'm going to watch for a pullback on this. So, you know, if I was to short, I would look for under 486 area, I guess, would be a good area to look for, and to fill the gap down into the 471. So that is what I'd be looking for a quick drop. And I'm going to look at the options, see how expensive. Okay, I thought BlackRock, for some reason, the options were expensive. It's been a long time since I've traded it. It's been like I don't think I've traded it in like a year, maybe 6 months. It's been a long time. I thought for some reason BlackRock had expensive options like Amazon and Google, but they're not too bad. I mean, they're pretty reasonable. But they're kind of spready, like 30 cents. So just use limit orders getting in and out. But that's why I'll be watching BlackRock for a short under this area right here, 486 to fill a gap. And the next one is AVGO. I know I had some weakness on Friday, but it did recover. See, as you can see right here, it dropped and it recovered. But I like that it's got like a head and shoulders on the hourly, so I would be watching anything under the 310 level for a short and to fill the gap down to 396. So not the daily, the weekly. Let's see what it looks like on the weekly. Yeah, see, it doesn't. 322 is like a pretty big resistance on the weekly, and it got rejected up in here into the 320 area. So I would be a bit surprised if we get down and retest these levels, retest this, this symmetrical triangle that it broke out of. I'd be watching for that. The other one, let's see, I gotta correct my. I have a couple more. Yeah, Hone and Cat are the next two, and we've been watching those for the last couple weeks, and I still think Hone's going to drop big. I mean, every time it gets into these areas, it likes to drop big in a day. So I don't want to miss these big, almost $10 drops it has when it gets rejected. So right now, Hone is battling the 181 and 182 area. If it gets below the, I mean, you could say 180, but I would like to see 179.50. Gets below this little consolidation, it could drop down and cover the gap down to 176. So I'll be watching for that. Again, it seems like we're always watching Hone. I think it's due for a pullback. I mean, it's going to let some air out, at least retest this area right here, this 175 area. Yeah, 173 is the gap fill on the hourly. So yeah, 175 to 173 area would be one to watch to that level if it can break down. And Cat, let's see, Cat. I mean, Cat's straight up too. I mean, I just can't believe how crazy Cat's been the last couple weeks, and it was in this little channel right here, this downward channel, and it broke out of it. And it's finding resistance into the 148.50 area. It's got a lot of resistance in here. It's got resistance up in the 152 too. I mean, it could go to 152, but if the market's weak, I think Cat's going to fall apart. So, if the market is weak, 146 area be an area to short. It's got lots of downside, meaning 141, fill the gap into the 138. I mean, if the market's weak, Cat's going to fall apart. And that'll be one of the top ones I watch for this week is Cat. And last but not least is REGN, which is another pharmaceutical. And it's it's consolidating right here on the hourly, and it's finding resistance right here. It could pop, but I'm looking at it from the downside. It's got a big gap right here. But I would be looking for under the 339 for a short to retest this gap support in the 325 area. It'd be a nice little drop if it does drop. And the options are not too expensive on our REGN, so they won't be too bad. But I would watch it under the 339 area for a fall, for a drop down here. And possibly, and if it does happen to continue to drop under the 325, it could fill the gap down here into the 313 area. So I would be watching that. Let's see what it looks like on the weekly. Yeah, REGN will be one to watch on the hourly. That is going to be it for the watch list. I know there's a lot of tickers and there's a lot to watch for. And like I said, I gave you the bullish side if the market's strong. I give you the bearish side if the market's weak. And there's some plays that are on both sides that are 50-50, which I said could go either way. You can put them on both sides of your sheet to make note that depending on the market conditions could go either way. And I would keep that in mind, that everything is going to be dependent on which way the market goes this week. all-time highs and the VIX at record shorts, I think volatility is going to pick up this week. So, and if you're not in the VIX trade that we already put on, it's still actionable. I would get in it. If there's ever a time to get in it, it's right now, and use the alert that I alerted on, I think last week. It's still actionable. It might even be at the same price or cheaper than what we got in at, and just play the same strike, and it should do very, very well in the next couple weeks. So that is it for the watch list. I hope this will help you for the week. And these watch lists that I've been doing on every Sunday happen to be do really, really well. So just make sure to write down all the tickers and all the levels, and it should be a good week. So I am out.